Welcome to another episode of Two Old Geeks Talking. Now on the World Wide Web.
Hey, welcome to Two Old Geeks Talking. I'm Rob.
I am Trace.
And today we are discussing
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist.
Okay, and so I hope you like Iron Fist because I got a lot to say. But before I say anything about Iron Fist, we're close to 500 subscribers.
Sweet.
So if we get that push over the edge, we're going to have a mega mystery box we're going to give away once we reach 500 subs. And we appreciate everybody who's subbed so far.
Right.
And if you like our content, please do that.
Yeah.
So, Iron Fist. Instead of starting at the first of the character, I'm going to start with my introduction to the character.
All right.
You want to hand me that back here? Yeah. So when I was a kid, and I got pictures to prove it. I used to be a kid.
Really?
Yeah. I had the mumps. And Mom, she was scared to death the mumps were going to fall on me. I don't know if that's an old term or a correct term, a southern term, but anyway, she was afraid that I was going to go sterile. She was always afraid we were going to go sterile. We'd be watching cartoons on Saturday. Get away from that color TV!
Life would be totally different if we'd been
You can go sterile. Took me a vasectomy to go sterile. But anyway, back to 12-year-old Trace. So I was 12 years old, had the mumps. I'd read everything in my room. A friend of Dad's, Curtis Robinson, sent a stack of karate magazines for me to read.
Okay.
At the time, I had no interest whatsoever in karate. And so, but I liked collecting comics, and one of the magazines was old Marvel magazine. Now, do you remember Marvel magazines?
No.
You know, they had Savage Sword of Conan.
Oh, yeah, I remember some of those.
You know, there were magazines size comic books, and they would have actual articles in them as well. But there was, I think Eerie was one of them, and Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. You know, Kung Fu had gotten real popular back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. Big.
Everybody was Kung Fu fighting. So I picked it up, and I mean, it's got this beautiful George Perez, who recently passed away, painted artwork on it. It just really, really grabs you. And this one, number 19, is still sought after today because it's the first appearance of a character called White Tiger. So I pick up this and I read it, and I fell in love with the character Iron Fist. And I also fell in love with martial arts, and I started reading those karate magazines.
It's crazy. A comic book led a young man to become a what? 1 degree black belt?
7th degree.
A 7th degree black belt.
So I enrolled in local karate school and still study, and taught karate for 20 years. All because of that comic. So once I got that, I wanted to, of course, get his first appearance because, you know, that's what you do. You can toss it down anywhere.
No. Is this it?
So
This one?
the first appearance of Iron Fist was in Marvel Premiere 15. Do you remember where we got this? Well, I take a sip.
That wasn't in the stack of comic books that Uncle Steve gave us, one.
No, remember that?
Oh, across the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be I'm not going to say an old lady because she was probably only 30 at the time.
She was old to us at the time.
She was old to us, and she had a used bookstore. And it was in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and it was right next to the railroad tracks. And we would go there.
It wasn't even a comic book store. It was in the living room of her house.
Yeah, it was all these different books, and she had boxes and boxes of old Silver Age Marvel. I picked up all my Marvel Premiere there, and we had some good times there.
Oh yeah.
And but
just comic book wise.
Just comic book
Not
wise.
with a 30-year-old woman.
No, we weren't thinking that way yet. Shortly thereafter, but not at the time. So, but Marvel Premiere was one of those titles that Marvel used, like Marvel Spotlight or Marvel Presents, and it was to pitch ideas, throw them against the wall, and see what stuck. So they would create a character instead of giving him his own comic. They put him in a comic similar to Marvel Premiere, and if it took off and people liked it,
they give him his
that's
own
what they
comic.
do. Now Marvel already had Shang-Chi, which was pretty much just a Bruce Lee clone. You know, he was just a really good martial artist, looked exactly like...
He didn't have the 7 rings.
No, he didn't have those bracelets that they call rings. No, didn't have none of that crap. But yeah, Shang-Chi was just basically a Bruce Lee clone. He just happened to work for the Secret Service. So I was really drawn to Iron Fist because he actually had some superpowers. And so his origin is, Iron Fist is Danny Rand. And he's got one of the best origin stories, I think. It really captured my imagination when I was a kid.
Okay.
So Danny Rand, he's with his mother and his father. They're up in the Himalayas with his father's business partner as well, Harold Mitchum. They got this big expedition looking for what Danny's father says is this lost city of Kun Lun, this mystical city that only appears once every 10 years. So they get up there, snowstorm, get separated from the rest of their expedition. And so Danny's father just about falls into a crevice. And so his business partner, instead of pulling him up, cuts the rope.
Oh, I thought he stomped him.
No, he cuts the rope. And so Danny and his mother saw that. Then he turns around and confesses his love for Danny's mother.
I love you, man.
Needless to say, she didn't go for it. So she started pelting him with rocks and things. So he leaves them, thinking they'll never find their way down off the top of that mountain. He's going to end up inheriting that business because his business partner just bounced to the bottom of the mountain. So they're making their way through a blizzard. They come across this swinging bridge, and it just seems to go over to this mystical city. So they start moving toward it. Well, these wolves come out. So Danny's mother says, I want you to run for that bridge. I don't want you to look back. And I just want you to run as hard as your little legs will take you. So he takes off running. He does look back. And the wolves are tearing his mother apart. And eventually the wolves are coming toward him.
She sacrificed herself to slow the wolves down.
Right. And so all these arrows just come out of the mist and kill the wolves. And these Kun Lun warriors are next to Danny. Okay. So they take him in it. Okay.
All right. I got two questions so far.
All right.
Now, isn't Kun Lun considered like one of the 7 cities of heaven?
We'll get to that.
Okay. I'm jumping the gun. So then my second question is you said it's an original
It's one of the best origins.
One of the original origins. But
yeah, it's a really good
we've got
origin.
a lot of rich kids that lost their parents, like Bruce
Orphans
Wayne.
are sad.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne, Green Arrow. How many's in Marvel? I mean, you say it's an original, but it's just a new way of killing off the parents and having a kid grow up to be a badass.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So it's not original origin.
Yeah. Well, it may not be original. No, it's awesome. It's awesome. Okay. So Gil Kane did the drawing of Iron Fist, and he actually based Iron Fist and Chris Claremont, who's pretty much well known for making the X-Men famous, single-handedly. He did the writing on it, and Chris went back to an old Golden Age character called Action Man, and who was a Caucasian who went into the Orient and learned the secrets and came back and fought crime. So that's kind of what he based Iron Fist on. And hand me that issue over there. Larry Hama.
And what was he based on now?
Action Man, an old Golden Age character that hardly anybody's heard of. But Larry Hama, who's well known for his writing skills, especially probably best known for G.I. Joe, that he wrote for decades and decades, who I actually got to meet. He actually started out drawing comics, and so he drew the next issue.
Okay. And
so Larry's got a real good tie-in with Iron Fist as well, and we'll elaborate on that more. So he did well enough in Marvel Premiere that they decided to give him his own title. And so John Byrne did the artwork. And, of course, he goes, you got Iron Man versus Iron Fist in the first issue.
There you go.
You can't beat that. So that was real popular, but he went against Captain America in one issue. So
pin him against everybody.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's what really gets you juiced up as a kid, seeing these characters go against each other. Probably the Iron Fist comic that's worth the most, even more than the number one, would be Iron Fist 14. You know why?
No.
the first appearance of Sabretooth.
Oh, seriously.
So before, Sabretooth is known for being in the X-Men.
Right.
And being the arch enemy of
Wolverine. Right.
But before he become arch enemy of Wolverine, and before he was an X-Men, he was actually a mutant that was in Iron Fist. He was the arch enemy of Iron Fist. So that goes for quite a bit. And that's another one I picked up at that little bitty shop. And so, but Iron Fist tussled with everybody in his first series. He fought the X-Men, threw Wolverine out a window. And
About the only way you're going to stop
But the Iron Fist comics didn't sell real well.
Well, hello.
And so they got canceled after issue 15. And John Byrne was doing Marvel team up with Spider-Man, and he put Iron Fist in that and finished up the story from that run into this. This is the first issue of a Marvel comic that had an interracial kiss in it. And
Right, he was like the very first interracial.
So it was a kiss between Danny Rand and his girlfriend Misty Knight. Now, when you think Misty Knight, think of Pam Grier.
Yeah.
And so that's a
Pam Grier is Foxy.
That's right, she is. And but like I said, the Iron Fist didn't sell good. John was smart enough to finish up the comic and his run in the Marvel team up. They had another character that wasn't doing very good, and his name was Powerman, and he'd had about 40 some issues, and his comic wasn't selling as well. So Marvel, in a stroke of genius, said, you know what? We got Iron Fist that didn't sell well. We've got Powerman that's getting ready to be canceled. So let's combine these two and have them do a superhero team up.
Right.
So with issue 50,
what you gonna lose?
So with issue 50, Powerman comic became Powerman and Iron Fist. And I can't think of a Marvel duo that's as famous. Can you?
A duo?
Yeah, duo.
I see. I'm not a Marvel person, but I mean, you got Captain America and Bucky. You got.
Yeah,
I mean, but I don't guess Bucky was that popular. You got. What's that? Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah. Still Powerman. They're still more popular than that. So one of the most popular duos in Marvel Comics. So you got this streetwise older black man. You got this rich martial artist, young punk, and so they didn't seem like somebody that would click together. But those differences is what was their strengths. And they had a real good ensemble cast. They had Misty Knight. They had Colleen Wing. And so they just had a lot of characters that got brought in. And they had this like friendship, this group that surrounded them.
Right.
And really that's the key to Iron Fist. Iron Fist on his own never was the best character in the world. But he always worked better in an ensemble, in my opinion. But Powerman and Iron Fist was really popular, and it lasted 75 issues. So
only 75?
Yeah, well, I mean, one a month. I mean, that's several years.
Yeah, I mean, still, that doesn't seem.
But it went to 125.
I thought it
went to 125, so it was 75 after the 50. So now in the last issue of Powerman and Iron Fist dies. He dies in a stupid way. Basically, there's a kid. Think Shazam. He's got the power to turn into this big muscled superhero, Superman-like superhero. He's got some mental problems, and Danny's trying to calm him down in the hospital, and the kid freaks out, turns into this big superhero, and punches Danny right through a wall. And he's dead. The end. So it was one of the worst deaths ever in Marvel Comics, and people were just like sitting there with their mouths hanging open after reading that last issue. And so, but good old John Byrne, he was writing Namor 7 years later, and he thought that ending was just as stupid as everybody else. So in Namor, he brought back Danny Rand.
Oh, but how?
And well, the guy that got punched through the wall was actually a duplicate. It was these plant creatures that lived outside of Kun Lun called the High Re 3, and the actual Danny Rand was in the High 3 Re territory and a pod being slowly drained of his chi. Totally believable.
Right? I hate those pods.
But forget,
They're
I don't care
everywhere.
how John did it. Don't care how John did it. He did it. He did it. He brought him back. So I was tickled to death. Good for you, John Byrne. He saved Iron Fist. And in my opinion, I think he's one of the best Iron Fist artists that's ever drawn the character.
I mean, this is several years in the making, and don't really see like a major change in his costume throughout those years.
Oh, no, he really hadn't. And a lot of people made fun of his costume. He's got the high collar and the
Right.
kung fu slippers. But, I mean, to me...
I mean, even Powerman had a slight change through the ages.
Somewhat. I mean, they do change Iron Fist at some point. So after John brought him back, they tried to relaunch the character in a 2-issue limited series. Robert Brown wrote this. Robert Brown's a great writer. It's actually a great series. The art was done by Ray Garcia. And Robert Brown was the first one to introduce the concept that there may have been other Iron Fists besides Danny. And it was in a kind of vision hallucination that he had while he was getting the crap beat out of him. So,
While the writer was getting the crap beat
no,
out?
not the writer. No, the character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the character.
He's
the
like,
writer
you
was
know
getting
what
the
would be a
crap
good
beat out of him.
story?
And he was like, you know what would be awesome? If there were other Iron Fists. So he took lemons and made lemonade.
Right.
So he was in Heroes for Hire for a while. And so he was in there with Luke Cage and Hercules and the Black Knight and the White Tiger. And they formed a little team that would go after small crimes like kidnappings and missing children and stuff like that. So that was interesting. But every character has just that one moment where you get just the right artist
Okay.
and just the right writer, and that would have been the Immortal Iron Fist run that lasted about 20 some issues. It was written by Ed Brubaker and Matt Fraction. They teamed up to write it, and David Aja did the art, and it was so well done. They introduced, there were some issues that would talk about Iron Fist from the past. They really fleshed that out. They also introduced the book of the Iron Fist, which, like you watch these old Shaw kung fu movies, there'd be like a secret kung fu book that was passed down from teacher to student. Well, this was like a book that was written on the scales of Xiao Lao, the undying dragon that Iron Fist fought. And so, that run right there was fantastic. And then after that, which all those ended. You had a writer, you got singer-songwriters. Well, this is a guy who's an artist and a writer. So his name's Kyle Andrews, and he did 12-issue series of Iron Fist Living Weapon. It started out really, really good, and he was introducing and bringing back some characters from Danny's past, tying in like a lot of these old comics, tying them back in together. But it kind of really went off the rails there at the end. I mean, like at the end, like Danny possesses the building, the Rand building, and turns into a big Japanese robot, and uses to fight some Chinese mythological being. So to me, the last good Iron Fist story. Now it's not the last Iron Fist story. The last good one was about 8 or 9 issues that ran. Iron Fist, written by Ed Bryson, and he brought him into like a loner, kind of traveling around the United States, similar to
Kung Fu.
Kung Fu. Yeah. Or Bruce Banner or David Banner TV series, Incredible Hulk. So he'd wander around and he'd get into street level fights, and those were good as well. Now, since then, remember Larry Hama used to draw? Well, Larry Hama, he wrote an Iron Fist series called Heart of the Dragon. I think it was 6 issues. I read it and then threw it in the trash. It was so bad. Because that's what you do with toilet paper when you're done with it.
Okay.
So I don't.
Usually you give me those comics and I hang on to them.
So I don't blame Larry because he's in his 70s now and he's got bills to pay, and I'm sure Marvel modern Marvel give him this little bitty box and say, okay, we want you to write a story. Don't go beyond that.
Okay.
And he did the best he could. But in there, basically in that series, Danny said he's always been a terrible to be an Iron Fist and just gives the Iron Fist to some black chick from Wakanda, some general. Yeah.
All right. Why not?
It was terrible. It was terribly written. So then they decided they're going to try to reintroduce Iron Fist, and the Netflix series come out, which we're going to talk about here for a second.
Before we go to the Netflix series, I got a question about the comics.
Yeah, the new guy.
No. I was going to ask, wasn't there a moment, and I don't understand it, that Danny Rand actually portrayed himself as Daredevil?
Yeah, whenever Daredevil got locked up, Matt Murdock got locked up.
Right.
Everybody was in the assumption that he was Daredevil. So Danny...
And he done this without Matt's knowledge.
Right, put on the Daredevil suit and went and started fighting crime. That way it took some of the heat off Matt Murdock.
Oh, okay.
Because they're like, well, we thought you were Daredevil, but apparently you're not, because Daredevil's out here doing all this Daredevil stuff. And it was the glowing fist they gave him away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But no, so Marvel decided that they're going to do a Netflix series. But before we get into that, these retards on Twitter, they're like,
Look, you made me laugh.
It's cultural appropriation. Have you heard that?
A few times, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like Danny Rand, he shouldn't be doing martial arts because he's a white dude. So they
say that the role should have went to an Asian person.
Yeah. So assuming that only Asian people can do martial arts is one of the most racist things.
Oh, you want to hear something even more racist about it? Right. Is when they said the whole story of Iron Fist was this white savior complex. Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, that is the most racist phrase I ever heard to use to try to fight racism.
Yeah. If you've already got Shang-Chi, who's an awesome character.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the new modern comics, which I do not read, but I do keep up on. Thank you, YouTube. Is they've got Lin Lei, who used to be a character called the Sword Master, and he's a Chinese American, and they have given him the power of the Iron Fist now. So Danny's kind of his mentor / teacher. Danny's just a martial artist now. Right. He don't have the power, and which is kind of funny because
and this is in the series.
It's in the not in the series. It's in the comics now.
Oh, okay.
So he's got a totally different costume, but I mean the thing is that if you want a true Iron Fist, it'd have to be somebody from Kun Lun, the mystical city.
Right.
I mean, if you give it to Danny Rand or you give it to Lin Lei, some Chinese American, then that's still an outworlder.
I thought you had to earn it. I thought you had to hug a dragon.
The dragon just gave it to Lin Lei. Like Lin Lei so much, just give him.
Yeah.
Just give him chi. Yeah.
Here, have my chi.
Yeah.
Just there's my chi, bud.
Right, but anyway, stay away from modern comics. But so they made a Netflix series. Yeah. Did you watch any of it?
As we were doing this, I actually forced myself to watch at least 7 episodes.
Well, and here's the thing. Finn Jones is known as an actor from Game of Thrones. He's not a martial artist. If you're gonna,
he didn't do bad I didn't know he wasn't a martial artist.
Well, yeah, he did bad, I guess, because I am a martial artist.
I am a non-martial artist.
Yeah,
so,
but
I couldn't do this.
To make martial arts look good, especially kung fu, it takes a certain skill level, and I don't think Finn has it, and certainly even the stuntmen, to be honest with you, didn't have it, because Charlie Cox, he don't do all that stuff under Daredevil, and so Netflix had made Daredevil, and Daredevil was like the best live action Marvel anything that's ever been made, and so they also come out with Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. I was excited to see it.
Well, I was hoping that they were kind of trying to build up towards what they did with the Avengers. Do the small. They were working towards the Defenders,
and
right?
they did film the Defenders.
But I just don't think they. You think they really put the effort into the writing like they should have?
Oh well, part of the problem with all the Netflix shows, with maybe the exception of Daredevil, is they had that much story and they just stretched it out.
Yeah,
Stretched it
because
out.
I tell you what, I only watched 7 episodes, and I seen Danny Rand's little stupid. My parents crashed into the mountain thing probably 14 times within that. I was like, I've seen Batman's origin less than I've seen.
Yeah, there was a lot of filler in it, and the second season was worse. He gave the Iron Fist to the Colleen Wing character, and she could take it, and it was white, and she ran it down her sword.
I mean, not to interrupt you or anything, but
no, you're
Ben's
good.
only got 7 episodes in.
Yeah.
The only part of Kun Lun I've seen was when he was going through this first trial. There was like 3 people he had to beat, and that monk was sitting there talking to him. That was my favorite part, was what the monk was saying to him. And but then I was like, you know what? You know, they keep showing the death of the parents. Do they ever show him in the monastery? Do they ever show him ram his hand into the fire? Do they
No,
ever
they didn't
show
show
him
the
hug
dragon, really, no.
You know, why didn't they lead off with that kind of crap?
It's too expensive. I mean, to boil down to it,
Yeah.
they would have been better off. I think the first season was 13 episodes.
Okay.
It'd been better having 8 episodes and showed the dragon.
Yeah.
You know, and stick with his origin story. Just to me, just start the series
From
where the comic book started.
Yep.
But one thing they did in that show is they kind of made Danny kind of this hippie, kind of laid back, kind of guy, and that's the way he was portrayed in. There was a cartoon series called Ultimate Spider-Man.
I've seen clips from that. He was talking like he was a surfer.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the same guy that did Danny Rand, Iron Fist voice in Ultimate Spider-Man, did Michelangelo.
Oh, was it Michelangelo?
Yeah. Same guy. Yeah, and almost done it the same way.
I was like, holy crap, man! I know that voice actor.
But what Marvel should do, since they now have regained ownership over Daredevil, the Punisher, Iron Fist, Powerman, is because the Luke Cage show wasn't very good and the Iron Fist show wasn't very good. This is what they need to do.
Well, didn't they try that though?
No. They need to put them together. They had the Defenders with them all, but they need to have a Powerman, Iron Fist, and capitalize on the differences of those characters. And I think that would be popular. I think it would go over well, especially if we had a good writer. Show me that issue over there. One of the coolest Iron Fist covers.
That kind of looked like
one of the coolest Iron Fist covers, and I don't know if you can see it. It's what they call lenticle cover.
Yeah, it kind of looks like that one, don't it?
Yeah. But what it is like the old one, and then you turn it, and it's got a new version. Where he fought it again. And that was in Iron Fist 73. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that is cool.
But I got some, as far as merch, I got one of those Toon tumblers from Iron Fist I've had for years. Looks great when you drink Mountain Dew out of it.
I'm surprised it still hasn't come apart.
Yeah, you're not supposed to put it in a dishwasher, and I have accidentally a few
times. My Green Arrow, and it just came apart.
Still came apart?
Yep.
Marvel Legends figures used to be made by Toy Biz. Now they're made by Hasbro. But one of the best Iron Fist figures is still the original Toy Biz one that came out years ago. You pick these up for nothing. Yeah, they're not really collectible.
You still got it in the box.
Still got it in the box, baby. And then once Hasbro got a hold of Marvel Legends, they redid a new version of his suit that was in Immortal Iron Fist. I like the way the hands are clear. And
that was a question I wanted to ask
you.
That
looks good.
Like in the old comic books, the Power Fist is pink. But in all the new comic books and the show and everything, it's yellow. When did they go from pink to yellow, and what made them decide to do that crap?
I have no idea. This Marvel Legends, another one, that was a new suit they tried out for Iron Fist for a while. I never was a big fan of it. Somehow or another, he went and signed Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto when he
came
out.
To hurt.
Yeah, I would think so. He got that suit. But other than that, I guess that's it as far as Iron Fist. You got any questions?
No.
All right. Well, there you go.
Right.
I appreciate you guys listening. Like I said, you like our content, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys the next time. You done?
I'm done.
All right, we're done.
Later.
We're done. We're done.